Michael Jordan just leaked gay footage of LeBron James. What if one joke could destroy a legacy? At a press conference in Paris, Michael Jordan's playful smirk and a single line, "Some guy called James unleashed the biggest scandal in basketball history." Within hours, the internet turned rivalry into chaos, and the myth of perfection began to crumble. As memes exploded and brands panicked, fans wondered, was this revenge coincidence or calculated genius? Stay tuned, because what came next rewrote everything we thought we knew about fame, loyalty, and legacy. Subscribe now to Legends of Black Excellence, where truth meets legend. The beginning of the scandal and the alleged leak. At a sleek press conference in Paris, Michael Jordan appeared composed and confident, dressed in a sharp black suit with that trademark grin that once defined an era. When a reporter mentioned LeBron James, Jordan tilted his head, smirked, and casually replied, "Some guy called James." The room erupted in laughter. It seemed harmless, a classic Jordan quip. But in the age of viral outrage, where every glance and smirk can be magnified into a headline, that single sentence became the spark of something much bigger. Within hours, clips from the event flooded social media, zoomed in and slowed down, dissected frame by frame, like evidence in a trial. The phrase spread like wildfire. "Some guy called James" became a meme, a hashtag, and a weapon. Then came the real explosion, a grainy, blurry video uploaded by an anonymous burner account. It was labeled gay footage of LeBron James. No one could verify its authenticity, but internet sleuths quickly traced the post to an IP address in North Carolina, a state deeply tied to Jordan's life and businesses. Coincidence? The timing was too perfect for fans hungry for drama. Almost overnight, the internet decided Michael Jordan might have been the one who leaked it. Influencers and commentators rushed to capitalize on the chaos. DJ academics called it the biggest betrayal in basketball history. Skip Bayless claimed the clip was a setup meant to ruin both men. But logic had no place in this digital firestorm, only emotion did. Two titans of the sport, once symbols of greatness, were suddenly dragged into a narrative that had nothing to do with basketball. Could Jordan, a man obsessed with image control, truly be behind something so reckless? Or was the world simply desperate to believe the worst about its heroes? The frenzy revealed a deeper truth. This wasn't about the clip itself, but what it represented. Jordan embodied the old world dominance through silence, myth, and control. LeBron represented the new openness, activism, and constant visibility. The "some guy called James" moment became a cultural mirror reflecting how easily admiration can turn into suspicion. What started as a smirk in Paris had now become a symbol of rivalry, legacy, and power in the digital age. Mainstream outlets joined the feeding frenzy. Bleacher Report, USA Today, and TMZ all published speculation-laced headlines questioning Jordan's intent. Reporters analyzed his tone, his pauses, even his breathing. A spokesperson from Jordan's camp eventually denied any involvement, but it didn't matter. Online silence became proof. Every hour Jordan refused to respond only fueled more theories. His silence speaks louder than any denial, one commentator tweeted, a sentiment that echoed through millions of feeds. Meanwhile, LeBron said nothing. No tweet, no interview, no statement. That very silence became ammunition for both sides. Fans wondered, was he hurt, angry, or hiding something? Conspiracy channels claimed the two legends had fallen out years ago. Psychology experts on YouTube analyzed their body language in old all-star footage. Overnight, basketball's greatest rivalry had been reborn not on the court, but on the screen. From one offhand joke in Paris, the story spiraled into a full-blown cultural war. It was no longer about a clip or even about basketball. It was about myth control and the way fame can turn into its own weapon. Two men, one built on mystery, the other on transparency, became the unwilling avatars of a world obsessed with scandal. And as millions argued about what really happened, one question still echoed louder than the laughter that started it all. Did Michael Jordan's smirk just shake LeBron James's throne? Social media explosion and media reactions. The moment the clip surfaced, the internet erupted like a digital volcano. Twitter threads stretched endlessly as users replayed Jordan's Paris press conference in slow motion, zooming into every grin blink and sideways glance. Within minutes, the hashtag #SomeGuyCalledJames climbed to the top of trending charts. Fan edits turned Jordan's smirk into a cinematic meme complete with dramatic sound effects and captions like, "He finally snapped." Reddit users opened entire subthreads dedicated to decoding what they called the Paris expression. Every microsecond was treated like evidence in a crime scene, dissected by amateur detectives who believed the greatest rivalry in basketball history had just taken a dark new turn. DJ Academics was one of the first major voices to pour gasoline on the fire. With his trademark bravado, he uploaded a reaction video titled "The Biggest Betrayal in Hoops History." Millions tuned in as he replayed the alleged footage side by side with Jordan's smirk narrating it like a courtroom drama. He accused Jordan of orchestrating the ultimate revenge, a calculated strike against the man who had spent years being called his successor. The comment section went wild, half applauding Academics for telling the truth, the other half accusing him of exploiting two legends for clicks. Either way, the views skyrocketed, and so did the chaos. Not long after sports commentator Skip Bayless jumped into the conversation, bringing his own flair for provocation. On his talk show, he dismissed the viral narrative as too perfect to be real. To Bayless, the so-called leak looked like a staged hoax designed to manipulate both fan bases. He claimed, "This feels like a social experiment, not a scandal." Yet his skepticism only deepened curiosity. If someone was scripting the story, people wanted to know who and why. His theory introduced a new character into the narrative, the invisible puppeteer behind the algorithmic curtain. By midday, traditional media joined the digital storm. TMZ published a breaking headline, "Jordan Camp Shocked by Viral Clip Allegations." The article quoted an unnamed representative insisting the legend had nothing to do with whatever is circulating online. The denial, however, only fueled the fire. Bleacher Report released a long-form piece analyzing Jordan's career-long obsession with control, suggesting that if the leak were real, it might have been his way of reclaiming dominance over the conversation. Meanwhile, USA Today Sports called the entire situation a generational Rorschach test, implying that fans were projecting their own biases onto the story. Those who idolized Jordan saw a prank gone wrong. Those who worshipped LeBron saw an act of vengeance. Across TikTok, meme creators flooded the platform with clips labeled "When Legends Go Petty." One viral edit showed Jordan holding a phone with the caption, "Your move, King." Another reimagined the Paris interview as a movie trailer titled "Revenge of the GOAT." Millions of views later, the line between satire and belief vanished. What began as a blurry upload had become global entertainment, a morality play for the algorithm age. Every frame of Jordan's face became a Rorschach test for loyalty. Did that smirk mean arrogance, guilt, or just an old joke gone wrong? Everyone had an answer, and everyone believed theirs was the truth. By nightfall, the scandal had mutated beyond control. Journalists, fans, influencers, and AI meme accounts all spoke with equal authority. No one could confirm where the footage came from, yet everyone claimed to know. Jordan's decades of guarded silence suddenly worked against him, and the vacuum of explanation imagination filled the gap. Commentators compared the frenzy to myth-making, the birth of a modern legend where fact mattered less than narrative. Was this the price of being too perfect for too long? Did the internet need its heroes to fall to feel alive? In the end, what started as a harmless soundbite and an unverified upload became a cultural earthquake. Two basketball icons, one sentence, and an ocean of speculation had turned sports commentary into digital theater. The same platforms that once celebrated Jordan's greatness were now questioning his morality. As timelines refreshed and algorithms fed the flames, one unsettling question echoed through every feed. Did Michael Jordan really strike back, or did the internet simply create the villain it wanted to see? Psychology and symbolism behind the rivalry. What began as a mysterious clip and a few online jokes had now mutated into something far greater, a cultural battlefield. The alleged leak no longer revolved around authenticity or proof. It had evolved into a struggle for ownership of legacy, a war between two philosophies embodied by two men who defined basketball greatness. Michael Jordan represented control, mystery, and dominance, the archetype of the old guard, untouchable and calculating. LeBron James stood for openness, emotion, and authenticity, a symbol of the new digital athlete who shared his life in real time. The internet, hungry for conflict, turned their generational contrast into a moral war, restraint versus transparency, silence versus expression. Shannon Sharpe, known for his sharp wit and candid commentary, framed the scandal as a cultural reckoning. On Undisputed, he declared, "This isn't just a rumor, it's the moment the myth of invincibility broke." His words resonated beyond sports. For years, Jordan's image had been crafted as flawless, disciplined, even divine, a man immune to public chaos. The scandal cracked that illusion. Sharpe argued that it exposed how even legends, no matter how untouchable, could be consumed by the noise of the digital age. His tone was almost mournful. The era of perfect heroes was over. Once the court was their battlefield. Now, perception itself was the new arena. Skip Bayless, the eternal provocateur, saw things differently. Returning to the story, he claimed LeBron had become trapped in the image he built. In Bayless's view, LeBron's brand of vulnerability, his constant online presence, public family moments, and activism had backfired. When you live your career on transparency, Bayless said, the internet learns how to weaponize your openness. It was a brutal observation. To him, Jordan's stoicism looked like strategy, while LeBron's openness looked like weakness. Social media users took sides immediately. Team Jordan praised stoic composure. Team LeBron defended authenticity as strength. What was once about a video had now become a debate over the future of masculinity and leadership itself. The deeper the discourse went, the more personal it became. Analysts began interpreting every past quote and interview between the two men as coded hostility. Old footage resurfaced of LeBron calling Jordan my idol, but not my friend, and suddenly fans treated it like prophecy. Comment sections transformed into battlegrounds of ideology. One camp preaching that Jordan embodied discipline, privacy, and power, while the other insisted that LeBron symbolized empathy, transparency, and evolution. What no one realized was that both men had chosen silence, perhaps understanding that any word would be dissected until it lost meaning. Still, their absence only made the war louder. Podcasts, blogs, and Twitter threads soon adopted the tone of religious debate. Some users called Jordan a manipulator guarding his throne, others saw LeBron as a martyr for the modern age. Academics jumped in, labeling it a crisis of myth-making. They argued that Jordan's perfectionism belonged to a time when athletes were distant gods, while LeBron's vulnerability reflected a culture that demanded relatability. Both philosophies couldn't coexist peacefully in a world run by algorithms. The public's obsession wasn't with truth, but with identity, each fan projecting their own values onto their chosen hero. The rivalry had transcended basketball. It had become a mirror for society's divided psyche. By week's end, the conversation had turned philosophical. Commentators compared Jordan's legacy to a fortress strong, intimidating, built to last, while LeBron's resembled a glass house, open but fragile. Every new meme, every tweet, every think piece fed the polarization. The leak itself had faded into obscurity, yet the emotional fallout remained radioactive. Shannon Sharpe's words lingered. The myth of perfection died this week. Bayless countered, no, the myth of transparency did. Both were right, and both were wrong. The truth was that the internet had rewritten the rules of legacy. In the court of public opinion, silence wasn't protection anymore. It was interpretation. And in that chaos, Jordan and LeBron were no longer rivals on the hardwood. They were symbols in an endless psychological war over what greatness means in the 21st century. Image control and corporate crisis management. When the scandal reached its boiling point, both camps went quiet. For Michael Jordan and LeBron James, silence became their armor but also their weapon. As debates raged online, neither man issued a single statement. Behind the scenes, however, the machinery of corporate crisis management was working overtime. Nike, the empire that had built billion-dollar legacies around both athletes, called emergency meetings. Executives feared that public perception might twist the controversy into something far darker, a perceived act of homophobia or a generational power struggle within their own brand family. To counter the rising tension, Nike discreetly amplified its ongoing Pride campaign, plastering rainbow logos and messages of inclusivity across digital platforms. The company didn't name Jordan or LeBron directly, but everyone knew why the timing mattered. Meanwhile, Jordan brand Charlotte Hornets and his private firm Jump 23 locked their channels. No press releases, no tweets, no promotional posts. Their silence was absolute. Marketing experts speculated that Jordan was deliberately using his absence as a statement, an approach The Ringer later called dignified silence. The phrase exploded across the internet, transforming into a meme almost instantly. On Twitter, users posted Jordan's photos captioned, "When you say nothing but it says everything." What began as PR strategy became cultural shorthand for elite composure. Ironically, that restraint only deepened the mystique around him, feeding the idea that maybe he was controlling the narrative all along. Across Los Angeles, Spring Hill Entertainment. LeBron's production company faced a very different battle. LeBron's brand was built on transparency and communication, but now his advisors urged him to hold back. Internal reports leaked by Business Insider revealed that his engagement metrics had dropped nearly 27% in just 1 week, even as his follower count continued to climb. The internet wasn't abandoning him. It was watching in suspense. Every new post risked reigniting the fire. To minimize damage, his team quietly paused content schedules and pulled several planned ads. They were waiting for the outrage cycle to burn itself out. Yet the silence felt unnatural for someone known for speaking truth to power. At Variety, analysts dissected Nike's balancing act, protecting two opposing personalities under one corporate roof. The greatest risk, one insider said, isn't the scandal itself, it's the public choosing sides. To maintain neutrality, Nike crafted a subtle harmony between both icons' brands. Jordan's channels leaned into nostalgic imagery, classic clips of him hugging rivals promoting unity. LeBron's pages shifted toward messages of love, mentorship, and community outreach. Neither side mentioned the controversy, but together they radiated moral alignment, a carefully choreographed illusion of peace. Audiences noticed. It looked coordinated, and maybe it was. Behind the curtains, The Ringer reported that Jump 23's executives circulated an internal memo emphasizing composure. Maintain dignified silence. Narrative collapse favors credibility. The line once leaked turned into one of the most quoted phrases online. Commentators turned it into a metaphor for how modern fame operates when everyone talks. The one who doesn't becomes the loudest voice in the room. Jordan's stoicism was suddenly rebranded as genius. The internet rewarded restraint, mistaking it for superiority, while LeBron's vulnerability was framed as weakness. It was an ironic reversal of their public images. The introvert became the master of narrative. The communicator became the prisoner of speculation. By the end of the second week, corporate containment seemed to be working. The memes slowed, hashtags faded, and public attention drifted elsewhere. But the lesson lingered. In an age where outrage fuels engagement, silence had become the new PR strategy. Nike's dual empire had survived its most volatile week in years. LeBron's numbers would recover, and Jordan's aura remained intact. Yet beneath the surface, both brands had quietly rewritten their crisis playbooks. Dignified silence was no longer just a meme, it was the blueprint for surviving the algorithmic storm. Media investigation and the truth behind the hoax. After weeks of chaos, denial, and speculation, the scandal finally reached the mainstream press. The New York Times dropped what many believed would be the definitive report, an extensive investigation tracing the so-called gay footage of LeBron James to a digital manipulation group notorious for fabricating celebrity deepfakes to drive ad revenue. According to the report, metadata confirmed that the video originated from an overseas content farm specializing in viral shock material. The faces were synthetically mapped, the audio digitally distorted, and no connection to Michael Jordan or anyone in his circle existed. Objectively, it was the closure everyone had been waiting for. Yet paradoxically, the article didn't end the controversy. It intensified it. On social media, users dismissed the expose as corporate spin, claiming the truth was being buried under elite media control. CNN soon followed with a segment titled, "LeBron Jordan Tensions Resurface Amid Viral Hoax." Anchors explained that the footage had already been debunked, but admitted the narrative had grown too large to kill. Once myth takes root, a media analyst said on air, "Facts can't uproot it." The statement rang true. Comment sections across platforms filled with posts like, "Of course they'd say it's fake," and "Deepfake is just the new excuse for damage control." The internet had reached a point where disbelief was a form of faith, and every denial only made the lie stronger. CNN's coverage, while factual, fed the beast it sought to starve. People weren't watching for truth anymore. They were watching to see if their preferred version of the story would win. The Guardian published a thought-provoking piece by Dr. Mark Lamont Hill dissecting the psychological machinery behind the spectacle. Hill wrote, "We are witnessing a generational transfer of myth-making power from institutions to audiences. The athlete no longer performs on the court alone. He performs within the algorithm." His analysis reframed the scandal as more than celebrity gossip. It was a mirror reflecting how the public now co-authors truth with technology. Hill argued that the Jordan-LeBron saga symbolized a deeper shift, the death of authority in the digital age. When millions can remix, edit, and caption reality, truth becomes another form of user-generated content. As the story evolved, Forbes focused on the financial fallout. The magazine reported that Nike had absorbed temporary losses due to ad freezes, but noted that online engagement had paradoxically risen across both Jordan brand and LeBron's lines. Controversy, it seemed, had become free marketing. "Scandal is the new currency," one analyst wrote. "Brands don't need to avoid noise. They just need to control its direction." It was a sobering reflection of how corporations had learned to monetize moral confusion. Meanwhile, Sports Illustrated leaked fragments of an internal NBA memo advising all team PR offices to avoid language that reinforces speculative or personal narratives. The league was clearly panicking, trying to reclaim its clean, family-friendly image after weeks of viral chaos. Then came Adam Silver, the NBA commissioner, stepping into the public eye for the first time since the controversy began. At a private conference, later quoted by Reuters, he declared simply, "Neither athlete has done anything wrong. The NBA stands behind its legends." It was a diplomatic statement, firm yet non-confrontational, intended to close the chapter. But like every other attempt at resolution, it backfired online. The response was cynical and immediate. Of course, they'd protect their billion-dollar assets. Memes mocked Silver's quote with captions like, "When you can't admit the truth, deny the universe." Once again, denial became fuel. The louder the institutions spoke, the more people believed there was something to hide. By the end of the month, it was clear the truth no longer mattered. The New York Times had proven the video was fake. CNN had labeled it a hoax, and The Guardian had explained why people wouldn't believe it anyway. Yet the myth endured, mutating, regenerating, refusing to die. Dr. Hill's words echoed hauntingly across the internet. In the attention economy, disbelief is the last shared religion. Even as Reuters and Forbes confirmed the investigation's findings, comment threads continued to accuse the media of collusion. What started as a fabrication had evolved into folklore. The internet didn't just consume the lie, it adopted it. And by then, the truth, the real verifiable truth, had become the least interesting part of the story. Aftermath. Reconciliation and legacy transfer. As the noise began to fade, two of basketball's greatest figures finally found peace, not through words, but through silence. Michael Jordan and LeBron James, whose names had dominated headlines for weeks, both refused to comment further. No interviews, no statements, no hidden messages. Instead, their mutual partner Nike stepped in with a masterstroke of symbolism. The company unveiled a campaign titled, "Greatness Isn't Competing, It's Continuing." The ad's storyboard portrayed Jordan passing a basketball to LeBron beneath soft arena lights, a moment suspended between eras. There was no dialogue, only the echo of sneakers and crowd noise. The message was unmistakable. Legacy is not rivalry, it's inheritance. The advertisement spread instantly. Across television, YouTube, and digital billboards, viewers were captivated by its quiet poetry. For fans who had spent months arguing online, it felt like an olive branch, a collective exhale after endless tension. Sports historian Bill Simmons, writing for The Ringer, called the campaign a generational truce disguised as marketing. In his essay, he noted that the scandal had inadvertently redefined greatness itself. Jordan represents the myth of control. LeBron, the reality of transparency. Nike found a way to let both coexist. His words captured what many had begun to realize: the rivalry had evolved into reflection, and the story's end was not about shame or scandal, but about endurance. Behind the corporate polish, the emotional resonance was undeniable. The campaign's closing frame, LeBron lifting his gaze as Jordan's shadow faded into light, became an image of renewal. Online reactions softened. Fans who once traded insults now posted side-by-side photos captioned "Legends, not enemies." Even cynics who mocked the campaign's timing admitted its artistry. For the first time since the controversy began, both men's names trended not for rumor, but for reverence. The shift felt almost spiritual. The internet, once a weapon of division, had become a tool of reconciliation. In interviews following the ad's release, Nike executives subtly acknowledged the deeper intent. "We wanted to remind people that greatness isn't a zero-sum game," one spokesperson told Forbes. That philosophy echoed through LeBron's next public appearance, a charity live stream where he quoted his late friend Kobe Bryant. "The most important thing is to inspire others so they can be great in whatever they want to do." It was a message of grace and gratitude, a reminder that legacy transcends ego. Without ever addressing the scandal directly, LeBron reframed it through empathy, turning speculation into reflection. Michael Jordan, true to form, stayed invisible. Yet when paparazzi caught him courtside at a NASCAR event smiling faintly as reporters shouted questions, his composure said everything. There was no need for clarification. His silence had become its own language. Commentators likened it to the final chapter of a fable. The hero doesn't respond because the story no longer requires him to. Jordan's dignity, once seen as aloofness, was now interpreted as wisdom. In a world addicted to outrage, restraint felt revolutionary. By the time the campaign's full version premiered globally, the scandal had dissolved into history. Analysts would later cite it as a case study in how digital storms burn fast and fade faster. For Jordan and LeBron, however, the aftermath carried a quieter moral. Greatness is not defined by control or exposure, but by what survives both. The ad's tagline, "Greatness isn't competing, it's continuing," became prophetic. It marked the end of conflict and the beginning of continuity. Their rivalry, once framed as a contest for supremacy, had transformed into a shared legacy, one that outlived scandal, rumor, and the fleeting noise of the algorithm. In the end, the scandal faded, but its echo remained a reminder that legends are human, and perfection is a story we keep rewriting. Jordan and LeBron never needed words. Their silence spoke louder than every headline. The Nike ad greatness isn't competing. It's continuing turned rivalry into reverence, transforming tension into tribute. Yet questions linger. Can legacy survive the algorithm, or does it now depend on it? In the digital age, truth bends, myths endure, and greatness evolves not by dominance, but by endurance.